In India, there are some cars that just become a part of the landscape, and more often than not, it is a Maruti Suzuki. Well, they're hatchbacks, those are folklore. But did you know that at one point of time, Maruti Suzuki was India's largest SUV maker with just one model? The first gen Vitara Brezza sold 750,000 units. That's 7.5 lakh cars. And well, in today's day and age, that's one Vitara Brezza for every 1,840 Indians, roughly. That's a lot of Brezzas. And now they're back with Act 2, with Gen 2. This is the new Vitara Brezza, but this time they've dropped the Vitara name. It's just the Brezza. I think, in my personal opinion, that it looks nicer, and of course it packs in so much tech that it's absolutely bonkers. So let me tell you how it drives and of course everything that you should know about it. Before we begin, if you're wondering why that Vitara name has been dropped, here is why. In just about a few days after this video dropping, there will be another video of another Maruti SUV, the long awaited Creta rival, and that will be called the Vitara. So this is just the Brezza and that will be just the Vitara. You know, in the advertising world, they have a mantra. It's called sex sells, and that's pretty much backed by figures because a certain website, well, it has double the viewership of India's largest newspaper. I'm not gonna say what website it is, obviously, although it ends with hub. That said, if India's automotive industry had a mantra, it would definitely be glitz sells or tech sells. And the amount of tech that Maruti has packed into the Brezza, well, that's genuinely impressive, for the lack of a better word. In fact, it's more than impressive. It is now, I'd say, a benchmark in its segment, and that's saying a rather lot considering the kind of competition this thing goes up against. Just going to give you some of the highlights then. Obviously, the sunroof, a first for any Maruti, I believe. Then you have the heads-up display and an HD 360-degree parking camera setup. And yes, the hardware is supposedly better than the Baleno or the XL6. You also get a 9-inch display and the accoutrement that you expect in it. And of course, connected car features, you know, to spy on your children or your spouse. Now, if I had to nitpick, and honestly I should, because that's what I get paid for, that's why you guys come here and watch me ramble on about cars, I'd say that Maruti has sort of skipped out on one big feature, and that would be cool seats, and I don't get it. The XL6 gets it, so Maruti definitely has the tech now, so why skip out on it, especially at this price point, because it is, well, more expensive than any of its rivals today. It really is. Even the base model starts at 7,99,000 rupees, and the top spec, like the one we're driving here today, is a whopping 13,80,000 rupees ex-showroom. That's 70 grand more than the Kia Sonet, and we all thought that was overpriced. But at least it looks good. It's modern, it's chic, it's very current, and that's a good thing. And it's not just the subtle features, it's also the fact that the design makes it look a lot bigger than it actually is, especially when it comes to width, all while sticking true to that Brezza form that we are so used to. Just like the Baleno then, a very evolutionary and safe as a design language. Now, when you're going to buy one of these cars, you're eventually going to ask your friends that cardinal question. Bro, Goa chale kya? And when you do ask that question, the immediate response would be whipping out your phone, opening an app and checking for flight tickets. But in this case, you might not want to fly. Let me explain with a bit of math. Hello everybody, my name is Professor White Hair Nathan, and this is Economics of Goa Trip. It is very important life lesson. Now, for the sake of this calculation, we are using a Brezza fuel economy figure as a round figure of 20 kilometers per liter. And if you multiply this by the fuel capacity in the tank, that is 48 liters, you get official range or total range of 960 kilometers. Now, you divide that number by this magic number 111, which is the price of fuel in Mumbai today, you get 8.6 rupees per kilometer. This is running cost of the Brezza. Now, if you multiply this running cost by 600, which is the rough distance between Mumbai and Goa, you get 5160 rupees that you have to spend. Now, for the sake of this calculation, let us round up this figure. Let us make it 5,200 rupees total. And let us assume that you have 3 more friends who are willing to come to Goa with you in your car. Therefore, you divide this by 4 and you get 1,300 rupees single trip money that you have to spend from Mumbai to Goa. And if you don't want to sit on the beach there like a lazy lump of lard and come back to Bombay, you have to multiply this by 2. And therefore, you get return of 2,600 rupees that you have to spend to go from Mumbai to Goa and back to Mumbai in the Brezza. And this is much cheaper than the airline ticket, which will cost you at least 10,000 rupees to go the same trip. So if you've still stuck around after that lecture on the economics of a Goa trip, let me say something that I have said in the past and I'm going to reiterate again today in this video. Maruti makes the best naturally aspirated mass market engines, well, naturally aspirated petrol mass market engines in this country. Period. This K15 is an absolute gem. And well, we've had this in the Brezza before and it just pulls nicely, it sounds great, it's just an old school smile inducing motor. And yes, I know that it's just 103 horsepower and that there are plenty of options in this market today which are smaller in terms of capacity but have turbocharging and are more modern mills. But once in a while, I just enjoy driving one of these old school K-series engines. Well, technically it's not really old school. I mean, it still gets a mild hybrid setup, and yes, if you compare it to a turbocharged engine, you might be inclined to use the term old school, but it does the job and it does it well. The only problem is, being a 1.5, it does lose out on that GST concession that you get with a 1.2. No wonder it's priced this way then. Now, the gearbox has gone from a 4-speed automatic to a 6-speed automatic, which is a good thing. It's come to this millennia, but it is a torque converter. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, because with a torque converter, you get torque converter reliability, and that is what a lot of people who are looking for a car like this really want. They want something that never breaks, and this probably never will, because there have been several instances of these gearboxes doing 1 or 2 lakh kilometers without needing any major repair whatsoever. That said, the disadvantage is that it isn't as quick as some of its rivals. It's not an enthusiastic gearbox. I don't mean an enthusiast gearbox. I don't mean something that an enthusiast would like to drive. For that, there's the manual, and in this car, that is definitely the enthusiast's choice. It's not enthusiastic in the way it's not quick enough. Of course, you can use the pedals to shift up or down, but in general, it is a little bit more relaxed of a gearbox as compared to, say, a dual clutch would be. But then it's middle ground, because some of its rivals have CVTs, some have DCTs. This is a sensible option in a sensible car, which is what the Brezza has sort of always been, isn't it? Maybe that explains why 750,000 people bought that first generation one then. And the older one had a 4-star safety rating too, and I'd imagine now with 6 airbags, at least in these higher variants for now, and eventually in all variants, this could possibly be a 5-star car. Let's wait and watch. Now, at the price that this is at, it should have had a few more things to it. Personally, that booster jet engine is something that we all miss, but they're not going to do that, so there's no point holding your breath, because they've decided that this K15 mill with eventually a hybrid powertrain attached to it is going to be the way forward, especially for the larger SUV that's coming very, very soon. Gearbox 2 falls just a little bit short. The automatic falls a little bit short of expectations. I thought they'd have slightly better response in the Brezza as compared to, say, an XL6. But remember what I said earlier, sensibilities, and that is what this is. Where there are a few drawbacks and omissions in features, you do gain an unbeatable network and AK-47 levels of reliability. Yes, it's expensive, but then so is a Kevlar vest. Both, though, are absolutely bulletproof, and sometimes bulletproof is all you need.